Hey everyone. So in this particular video, we're going to be dealing with the whole CRA auditing. You know, remember that big story that they put forth? Well, the beginning of the story was all about, ooh, they're going to go after the tax avoiders, those who are the tax evaders, right? Those who actually, and if you think about one who wants to avoid taxes or evade taxes represents, yeah, that's just someone that doesn't want to be robbed and plundered, right? Don't want to have their income, all of that they work for and toil for, they don't want that to be arbitrarily taken from them by some central planning hack that suggests that they have a higher claim to that person's income or their wealth than they do, right? This is the insanity. And, oh, that reminds me. Yeah, hashtag taxation is theft. Sorry, folks. I know a lot of people out there don't like to hear this uncomfortable truth, but it is the truth. You know damn well that neither you nor I or anyone that you go out there and sit and talk to, I mean, just sit down and have a discussion with them sometime. If you want to prove yourself right or wrong, just sit down and have a discussion with, a few people in Canada and ask them, where can you suggest or at least give me some evidence to show credibility when you say, yes, you've agreed to taxation. You've agreed to allow politicians to rob and plunder you at their own will, at their discretion, and you're just supposed to go along with it because, hey, that's the cost of living in a democracy. Well, that's the rhetoric they suggest. That's the rhetoric they espouse. But, like I say, damn well it's not true. I sure as shit never agreed to that every time some central plan hack gets up there in Ottawa and decides, hey, let's create another area where we can plunder the masses, right? Did you agree with that? No, even if you voted for those people, I guarantee that these people, when they get into those positions of power, they never said that, oh, by the way, we're going to rob you. We're going to plunder your productive income, your productive wealth, and your productive labor. Because if you voted for them when they said that, then you're an idiot. No, what most people do is they vote for, because they think, oh, the government will take from someone else. A rich, usually. That's the pretense, right? It goes, oh, yeah, no, I want to vote for the Liberals or the NDP, or actually even some of the Conservatives now, because they're all a bunch of collectivists that are always looking to use people that are successful as a scapegoat, as a reason why they should be able to plunder their productive wealth, their income, right? Or the productivity of their intellect or their labor. But yes, once again, folks, taxation is theft, and denying it is literally an admission that you haven't thought critically about the issue at all, and your default position is to simply say, no, it's not. No, it's not. It's the price to live in democracy in the Western world. Basically, that's all you got. And then if someone pushes back against you, you got nothing else to offer. And that's the fucking truth. The minute someone would combat you, if I were to combat with someone, the reason why I know this is because I've done it. If I combat people that start with that original defense of, well, no, it's the price. Well, how would we ever have roads? Listen, we've got the answers to all that bullshit. All the political talking points that's been jammed in your head. Yeah, libertarians have covered it extensively and exhaustively. So maybe you want to get caught up to speed as far as understanding what it means to be free, understanding what theft truly entails, or some other people, instead of suggesting that it's theft, extortion. Same shit, different ball as far as I'm concerned. It's still being done without my express permission, and I know you haven't given that express permission to some central planner to just arbitrarily take from you whenever they see fit. No matter if you make it $50,000 a year or $5 million a year. None of you has said, yeah, go ahead, rob me. Go ahead, take a portion of that. Yeah, it's okay, it's fine. Yeah, let me sign that contract. Matter of fact, can I get to the front of the line? I want to sign it first. None of you have done that. And stop pretending that you have. And stop pretending that they do it under the guise of benevolence. Because if you care about all these products or services like the roads or healthcare, well, step up the plate and do it voluntarily. Then there's no longer a need for forced wealth or income redistribution. Step up to the plate. Assume responsibility. Then we don't have to worry about politicians constantly plundering our income because we can go elsewhere. We can use the market where voluntary exchanges actually flourishes instead of authoritarianism where it's, once again, just based on arbitrary mandates and edicts. Anyways, let me get to this article because, once again, this is in reference to the Panama Papers. And even with this headline article, it's been a couple years, but, like the Trudeau Liberals, when they come to power, oh, we're going to go after those filthy, stinking rich people, which are, the most prudent, mostly successful, the ones that are innovative, creative, or entrepreneurial. Oh, yeah, they always want to go after the people that are successful. Because, yeah, leftists, oh, if there's one thing it's not that they love the poor, but they do resent and hate the rich. They do resent people who have become successful through voluntary means and interactions, because people that go into government, well, they can't do it through the voluntary means. That's why they go into government. So, of course, they're envious and resentful of those who can, or those who do. Anyways, headline, CBC News, politics. More than 2 years later, no Canadian Panama Papers charges have been filed. Several criminal investigations are ongoing, says CRA spokesperson. This being reported by Elizabeth Thompson, December 12, 2018. 2.5 years after the landmark Panama Papers leak of offshore financial information, the Canada Revenue Agency has yet to charge or convict anyone with offshore tax evasion. This is the part, let me just, before I get too far in this article, and I probably won't have to read too much into it, but I just want to stress and point out right now that the reason why that is 2.5 years later is because who do you think sets up, like when these politicians or the pundits, or I should say not the pundits, because they just talk about it after the fact, but the politicians and the corporate class in this country, so basically the ruling elite, what do you think? They haven't figured all this stuff out? When they're in there lobbying or supporting the government, so whether they're supporting the Conservatives or the Liberals or the NDPers, the corporate class, they know how to lobby to make sure that everything they do is on the up and up. Now, the political class, because it's political, they can, oh, those damn rich people. But this article is literally pointing at the fact that, yeah, it's a paper tiger, folks, because they're spewing the rhetoric. Oh, they're so resentful, and oh, they're going to go after the rich to pay their fair share. But the rules are all written to make it legal. The reason why there's no charges that have been laid 2.5 years later after this big, the Panama Papers. Oh, it was, I don't know how many pages of information, but oh man, it looked like, oh, this was something that they could really use to go after the ultra rich, the elite who are stashing all their money in these offshore accounts. But once again, like I say, the reason why they're doing it because they know that the political and ruling class, well, they're kind of the same thing, right? Kind of this two wings of the same bird, really, is what you're talking about. So people that go into the politics, right? Well, if they want to be crony corporatists subsequent and after the fact, well, they want to make sure that all that legislation allows them to do so once they leave politics and go into the, running corporatists or having speeches or being advisors, whatever particular crony role that they suggest or put forth in how they want to benefit financially from their corruption. Like I say, the CRA and these crony corporates, they all know that, hey, the rules were written in their favor. That's why they feel very secure and comfortable doing this stuff, right? The fact that the media and the political propagandists from the left side of the political aisle, or like I say, even those on the right, although to a lesser degree, if you're on the right, you're supposed to be standing in defense of the corporations and making money. But once again, we see how that's misconstrued, and they're both cross paths constantly on a continual basis, the left and the right now, where it's like it's just a mixed batch where it's not even that they're meeting in the center. As a matter of fact, they've looped around and they're such collectivists that, like I say, the left and right have come together. That's that weird loop that we're always seeing and referencing these days, where it's like when you're talking about the political spectrum, right? It should be left or right, but in reality, there is no left or right anymore. They want the population to stay separated under the left-right paradigm, but they've all come together under a big umbrella term, which is ruling class. To date, no Canadian taxpayer or company has been charged with an offense as a result of information received from the Panama or Paradise Paper affairs, said Danny Marin, spokesman for the department. While the CRA currently has 50 mature investigations into offshore tax evasion, it appears that few of them are related to the Panama Papers, a massive leak of confidential offshore financial information that rocked the world and led to the resignations of top government officials in a number of countries. Like I say, why would government officials have to resign? Because, like I say, these are, when you're talking about, like I say, corporations these days, especially the big corporations, those established and entrenched corporations, and then government, well, like I say, it's two wings of the same bird, man. So, of course, like I say, the government hacks, right, they're gonna be thrown out of their political office or have to resign, but well, that doesn't really mean shit. They'll just go, oh, well, let me flee to my tax haven now. I've had to resign from politics, but all my money's still safely stashed and secured in my offshore account because, hey, like I said, they writ the rules to make sure that they protected themselves and their cronies and elitist counterparts. You can rest assured on that one, folks. In relation to the Panama and Paradise Papers specifically, several criminal investigations are ongoing, wrote Moran. 2.5 years later, well, actually, it's the government. So, you know, a snail could leave the political establishment in the dust as far as, you know, getting anything done or in terms of speed, right? As with any criminal investigation undertaken by law enforcement bodies, including the CRA, these can be complex and require months or years to complete. Well, it's not just been months, so months, what's the point of even talking about months? It's already been 2.5 years and you haven't even found any. You tell me in all that time you haven't found one, right? Everybody out there, that's the thing. These papers are all about, oh, the mass amount of corruption, all these tax dodging and offshore accounts. But yet, not one. After 2.5 years, not one. Like I say, whether you want to look at it as just heightened level of incompetence on behalf of those in the CRA or government, which that's definitely a plausible explanation, or at least part and parcel of the explanations. But on the other side of that, once again, you're going to have to accept and respect the other side of that equation, which is, like I say, they got nothing, folks. They want to put forth and present the narrative that, oh, we're going after the ultra-rich, the elite. Meanwhile, because these are people who want to be ultra-rich and elitists themselves, or maybe some of them are already there, they're like, not really. We're going to say it, but yeah, don't expect much to actually come out of it. Once again, reality over rhetoric, folks. Anyways, I'll post a link to this article in the description of the video below. I just wanted to point out that, yeah, 2.5 years later, still nothing. Still a big nothing burger. And why is that? Like I say, because they get to write the laws in their favor. So even if there was someone that found some discrepancy, once again, you're relying on human interpretation of that discrepancy. And, well, we've learned time and time again, folks, that the palms of central planners, they can be greased quite easily. Matter of fact, they're more than willing to look the other way, especially if they themselves can benefit as a result. It's Canadian Libertarian, and I love liberty.